Hi, I'm Luke Shepherd and I wanted to introduce you to the second part of the series. The first part we just talked about the standing posture, the structure of the body and the releasing inside the body. And now I wanted to move this understanding into what happens when the body moves. So I'm going to use an exercise and to show what to look for in terms of the external frame of the body and the internal changes of the body as we move. So the first thing, as we did last time, is that the feet are connected, the muscles in the feet soft, so the whole foot can spread onto the ground, the outside edge, the ball of the foot and the heel equally pressurized, the calves release, the knees begin to feel buoyant and stable, the hips and thighs soften, rotation in the pelvis, lifting through the chest, and release through the shoulders into the posture. The whole body feels pressed onto the ground very lightly, very buoyant, just like a ball resting on water. When I turn the hips and I move across, I need to make sure that the thigh and the hips aren't locked together, because if they are, the knee comes out of alignment. And this is really common. You'll notice it because you'll feel the foot roll onto the arch, onto the inner edge. It's the way of spotting the sensation of it if the knee moves in space. But what we want to do, the knee only really wants to bend in the direction towards the toes. The knees are always pointing towards the toes, whatever posture I'm in, because the knee can only move in one direction. But the hips and the ankles can move in different directions. So we have to be careful that we're not throwing the knee about when we move. The knees stay quite still. The movement, femur and the ball of the femur and the pivot joint of the pelvis, this is where the movement takes place. So when I turn and I move across, the knee stays in the same position. The qua opens to like a door swinging open to allow the hips to open. The hips stay level and seated, and the weight comes into one leg rather than the other leg. It's dynamic, so it's not static weight. So there's a sinking in the muscles to allow myself to move, a releasing of the muscles, and the body lightly presses onto the ground. Releasing to move. What's that about? Well, if the body is like an upside down letter Y, the two legs keep it in place. If this leg was chopped off, obviously I'm going to fall over. So there's a gravity is wanting me to move. There's a potential for me to move downwards all the time. There's a potential for me to move towards that leg or that leg if I soften the leg. So if I soften this leg, it creates space into which the weight of the body can press. So if you think of the leg like a beach ball, one of those big gym balls, and I'm sitting on the gym ball, the more weight I put on, the more movement I put towards this leg, the more accommodation there has to be to support that weight. So starting in the middle, there's not much weight in the leg. By the time I move right over, it's almost my whole body weight's over the leg. The muscles in the leg have to change accordingly to receive the force of the weight of my body. Body in movement creates force, so it has to receive the weight of the body. If the muscles don't change, and I just move over the leg, they're still holding, and they're in the wrong condition for the weight of the body, because the body's increased, the muscles need to change. If the body moves and the muscles don't change, there's a disconnect, and I lose my grounding. So the changing of the muscles within the body enables the body to maintain a grounded, connected condition as you move across. And that comes not from pushing with this leg, not from pushing myself into the posture, not from sitting back by using the front leg to push me back. What I have to do is I have to change the back leg to allow the weight of the body that wants to go that way anyway in. So the weight of the body wants to fall towards the ground. This leg's stopping it falling towards the ground. If I soften the leg just the right amount, it receives the body and I can sit back. Softening the upper body and releasing onto the leg. So the condition of the body is relative to the weight and the force of the body. Change the leg, change the torso, change the shoulders. The arms follow the shoulders. Square the hips. Change the leg, change the torso, change the shoulders. The whole body buoyantly presses in. Change the leg, change the hips, the lower back, the torso, the abdomen, the diaphragm, and the shoulders. Make sure the knee doesn't collapse and the structure of the body stays clear, and inside the body there's a change. Notice I'm saying change the leg first, then the torso, then the shoulders. There's a sequence to the change from the floor, the next bit, the next bit, the next bit. The body's stacking. Mind is with the leg first. Then as the hips change, the mind rises. Torso, chest, shoulders. So the awareness and the intention to change passes through the body, moves through the body. You're not just feeling one thing, you're moving your focus, attention, awareness, and intention through the body as you move. First in the foot, through to the center, through to the chest, shoulders, crown, and back. While I'm sinking, while the body's dropping, the awareness is rising through the body. This is the first loosening exercise out of 5. And each video I'll go through one of the loosening exercises and show the key principles of Tai Chi within the exercise. Movement has to be coordinated. For a beginner, I'd say the whole body moves as a unit. When the hips turn, the shoulders turn. When the shoulders turn, the arms drop. The whole thing coordinated. For someone more intermediate, I'd say look for the synchronization. Well, what's the difference between coordination and synchronization? Coordination is the external framework of the body that moves together. Synchronization, it involves a much deeper listening, because when the leg softens, it creates space into which the hips can flow. So the leg and the hip are synchronized. The changes in the leg generate the ability for the hips to move into it. There's a synchronization. As soon as the hips release, there's a synchronization. If you can feel the space that's created for the torso to drop into, and likewise the shoulders. So the body feels like something like perhaps a tube of toothpaste. When you squeeze it, it oozes its way through, and one thing creates the next thing, creates the next thing, creates the next thing, all led from the movement of the center. Center melts into the leg, and the rest of the body follows. stable, connected, pressed onto the ground. And this is a principle of movement, and it's what we're looking for in every single move of the form, in every posture of the form, in every exercise we do, because we want to develop it and train it. And over time, these are going to be the grounding and the forces that we start to use for the issuing and the fa-jin and the synchronized waves that move through the body, the soft elastic forces that move through the body. And too early to talk about those right now. When we can get a partner in, we can do that, but we're in COVID time at the moment, which is why I'm in my living room. And so keep it simple. Keep it more to do with what happens on the inside of the body than the external movements of Tai Chi. I see a lot of Tai Chi that's done very smoothly, but the external movements are smooth. The hands moving through space very smoothly. The centers turning very smoothly. These are all external controlled movements. We want to also bring the internal smooth changes. And the muscle release on the inside is much harder to find. It needs a much quieter, deeper, connected, focal attention to find those changes. And this is what these type of exercises are directing us to do. First loosening exercise, the feet. Connected. The movement of the body is across and turning the whole time. Without going down, without lowering, simply gliding the hips, staying level, gliding the hips until the alignment of the body is over the foot. The hips facing, start off facing 12 o'clock, I move to 1:30 on the left foot. That's the movement of the body. Now what's happening inside the body? Obviously, I'm not going down. I'm not lowering the body because that would be against what we were doing in the other exercise. So I'm melting on the inside. I'm softening the leg and I'm allowing the weight of the body to be supported by the leg, and all the changes finish at the same time as the movement. I rebound and I turn square. I release the leg, I glide across, I soften the whole body, and I settle. I rebound the hips and I turn square. As I turn square, the arms lift. Starting position, release. Remember, it's not just a movement because that locks the muscle. It's not just a drop because that just lowers the body. It's a change on the inside of the body. And that's the whole body. Both hips stay level. Both legs release. Upper body releases. Shoulders release. Arms release. Square. The timing of the wrists getting to the top, the height of the shoulders, happens at the same time as the hips square. The hips have to move that much. The arms have to move that much. So the timing is the same. The movement, distance movement is much bigger in the arms. So I invite you to go to a more sleepy place, a more dreamy, inward place where you can put your mind into the body and really be with the body, be with the leg as it melts. What's the result of the leg melting? What happens in the hips when the leg changes? What happens in the abdomen as the hips soften? As the abdomen softens, what happens in the chest? When one part of the body changes, it creates space for another part of the body to flow into. So I call it the toothpaste principle. You know what happens when you squeeze the bottom of the tube of toothpaste? It all kind of follows itself. It kind of oozes its way up the tube. When one part changes on the inside, the next part oozes itself into that space until you get pressed onto the ground, stacked up. Doesn't stop moving, doesn't become hard, doesn't become rigid, becomes very loose and buoyant. So go to your sleepiest place. Feel the changes you instigate. Experience the sensations as you ask your body to release. Maintain your principle of being upright, crown of the head suspended. Change the body, soften the leg, but don't collapse the leg. Release the leg and then move on to it. The leg's still releasing, still releasing, still releasing until the movement finishes. So it's a nice, slow, long release. This is why we have to keep our awareness on the sensations in the leg so we can maintain that release of the hips, of the lower back, of the diaphragm, of the shoulders for as long as possible.